everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are once again returning to the Age of Darkness, and we are painting another Mark 6 Space Marine, and this one is a traitor, the sickliest of traitors. Yes, we are of course painting the Death Guard. Now, it's very exciting, very cool, because we're going to be using the new contrast paints and the new shade paints, or the reformulated shade paints from Games Workshop that they very kindly sent me nice and early for me to review and show you what they are all capable of, and that is exactly what we are going to do now. So without further ado, he has been primed in grey seer, as with all of our Mark 6 Space Marines, and the colour we're going to be using first is the new shade called Mortarion Grime. Has to be, right? And what we're going to do is we're just going to start painting this over the top of all of our Legionaries' armour, excluding his shoulder pads. Those are going to be a different colour. But for now, we just want to get this all over just like this. Now, Mortarion Grime is one of the new reformulated shades. It is not reformulated because it's the first time Mortarion Grime has ever existed, but it does work like a normal contrast paint. So you do just want to be careful a little bit with how much you have on your brush. You want to use these big broad brush strokes to get it all over the model in a nice smooth layer, because this is pretty much the colour scheme right here. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit patchy here and there. The Death Guard, they're not particularly clean. However, the smoother we get our first coat, the better. So with that Mortarion Grime applied, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Seraphim Sepia, some of the new reformulated shade of Seraphim Sepia, and we're going to apply this over the top. Now we don't want to do really heavy coat here, we just want to do very small amounts to basically tint our, well, tinted armour just that little bit more. Now if you want to, you could just thin this down with a little bit of contrast medium or Larmian medium to have a little bit of better control over it. But just a little bit of this is going to go a long way, as you can see. So with that done, we now have this beautiful Death Guard armour. So lovely. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to the shoulder pads. And the colour we're going to be using for this first is Militarum Green. I'm just going to load up our brush here. I'm just going to start painting this colour all over. And so with that Militarum Green applied, we're then going to take some of the new reformulated Athonian Camoshade. We're going to use this to shade shoulder pads. So with that done, I actually did 2 layers of the Athonian Camoshade over the top of those shoulder pads to get that green nice and dark. Well, it looks fantastic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Black Legion. We're going to use this to colour in all of the black details. Now this is going to include areas such as the pipes and cables the soft joints in his armour, the leather, and the bolt gun casing. It's got quite a lot of black. You just want to take your time here. And then once that's done, we'll come back. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors, and we're going to apply this over the top of all of our metallics on our Death Guard Space Marine. This is going to include areas such as the remaining details on the bolt gun and the chainsword bayonet, the kind of harness area, mechanical areas on the backpack, all of it. So with that done, what we're now going to do is we're just going to very quickly take a tiny amount of Sigvald Burgundy. I'm going to apply this over the top of his eye lenses. So with that done, we're then going to shade all of our silver using some of the new reformulated Agrax Earthshade. So with that done, our Death Guard Marine is at what I would call a Warhipster battle ready. However, we're not just going to leave him there. No, what we're going to do is we're going to take him to the next level. Now, part of this is, well, a lot of battle damage and grime that we need to add. And this is actually becomes before we do any of the highlights. And if you don't want to do any of this, you want to have clean Death Guard, then skip this. But this is what I would say is part of the scheme. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion, and we're just going to start adding some little scuffs and little chips and cuts in various little places around the Marine. So we're just going to be using a really small brush to add these little bits of damage and wear and tear. Just kind of dabbing at the model a little bit. You can add the occasional little line as well. And you just want to go all the way around, adding this wherever you think is necessary. So with that done, what we're then going to do is going to take some GARAGHAK'S sewer. I'm going to use this to add a little bit more of a build-up of grime. So for example, in the kind of deepest recesses like that one there, just around the elbow, you just want to add a little bit of this, like that. So actually a little bit too heavy, so I'm just going to wash the brush, just get in there with the clean bristles, mop some of that up. There we go. But similarly, what we're going to do is we're going to use the GARAGHAK'S sewer to add just little lines kind of leaking out of certain areas. So, for example, just there, and you can fill up some of these recesses as well. So with that done, you should have a Death Guard Marine that looks somewhat like this. He's looking pretty awesome. So what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight him. The colour we're going to be using first for this is Ionrach Skin. We're just going to use this to highlight all of his armour. So we're just going to pick out the edges for the moment. Don't worry about the battle damage. We've got another highlight coming after this. Like that. So with that Ionrach Skin applied, what we're then going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Deepkin Flesh. I'm going to use this to add a little kind of spot highlight to the sharpest areas on the armour. So for example, just around here on the gorget, just to give it that kind of shine that we're after. Like so. But what we're also going to do is going to use the Deepkin Flesh to highlight all of the battle damage on our pale armour sections. So for example, just around that one just there, just going to add a little bit of a highlight. Just like this, just to give it a 3D-esque look. For example, just here on the head. Like that, and you don't want to go around the entirety of it, you just want to kind of go around one edge to make it look like it's like kind of like a scuff or whatever. So with that done, all of our pale armour is now finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the green, and the colour we're going to be using for this first is Death Guard Green. So with that Death Guard Green applied, what we then do is we take some Nurgling Green. I'm going to apply this to the sharp points on the shoulders, but we're also going to use this to highlight any of the nicks and scrapes you might have put in across your model. Just like we did on the pale armour, just like that. So with that done, all of the armour is now highlighted and finished. So what we're going to do is going to move on, and we're going to start highlighting all of the black details. And the colour we're going to be using for this first is Skavenblight Dinge. So we're just going to be picking out all of the edges across all of our black details. Just like this. It's quite a subtle highlight, Skavenblight Dinge, but it does have that sort of dirty style that we're after. So with that Skavenblight Dinge applied, what we then do is we take a little bit of Stormvermin Fur, and we're going to just add this to the corners and the sharp areas of our black details. So with that done, we then just want to use a tiny bit of Ironbreaker to highlight all of our silver details. So with that silver all applied, all that's left to do is his eye lenses, and the colour we're going to be using first to do this is Fulgrim pink, and we're just going to add a very little highlight going around the bottom of each of the eye lenses like that. And finally, just to finish it off, we want to add the tiniest little dot of CORAX white in the back corner of each of the eye lenses. Just like that.
And so with that done, our Death Guard Marine is now all finished, and he looks absolutely fantastic. This is probably my favourite one so far. I just think it looks so effective. GARAGHAK'S sewer as a little weathering tool is just phenomenal. As well as Black Legion, it just makes it so easy to do those bits of freehand with a black that is already basically pre-thinned and isn't going to kind of leave a thinner colour on there. Oh, honestly, so much fun and really, really, really nice to look at. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you want to support me further like these legends and bosses on the screen before you, you can do so. Head to patreon.com/Warhipster or head to ko-fi.com/Warhipster. Alternatively, you can now become a YouTube channel member by heading to the channel page and clicking on the join button just here, exactly like these awesome folks have done. And if you just want to shoot me a little thanks just because you really love this video, you can click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.